God damn it. All right.
Go.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Fringe Theory. Um, we just wanted to kind of get everybody together and explain the premise of Fringe Theory a little bit, explain our backgrounds with paranormal events and government cover-up events and things like that. But also wanted to introduce the cast of the show and talk a little bit about phase line and how the show is connected with phase line, because it is very much, in my opinion, and everyone's opinion, really.
And in fact.
What's that?
And in fact.
And
Yeah.
in fact. So yeah.
In
So
my
I
opinion,
am.
as well as on paper.
Yeah, as well as on paper, legally and binding.
Legally binding. I am Todd. Most of you guys may know me as Reaver. To my bottom and right over here, is Brian. Most of you may know him as Dagger.
That'd
And
be
then
me.
to my bottom and left is Cooper. Most of you may know him as Cooper.
That's me.
Not a big change on that one. Cooper and I both run a community group called Phase Line that is focused around charity events, creating charity events, but it's also about uplifting community content creators across a wide variety of communities. So if you guys have a show that you want to do, Cooper, if you've got something to say, please say it.
No, sorry, there was a hair floating, and I wanted to catch it before he said that there was another orb, and so...
It's paranormal stuff happening already.
Already.
Yeah.
Obviously, the show is a little bit more relaxed than our content will be. But it's only because we're introducing each other and we all kind of dick around with each other quite a bit.
Yep.
So right now, Cooper and myself, and Cooper, if anybody else has joined the team, please let me know. I can't remember at the moment. But Cooper and myself are doing a charity event for Extra Life, along with Bungie's charity event that's going on. Cooper, if you want to talk a little bit about that for me.
Yeah, for sure. So it's technically two events. The first one is the Extra Life. I think it's like the specific event is it's like something for children. I think it's the Extra Life for children, but like the number 4 is their symbol, and you sign up for the team, and you get to choose your own hospital. So it's a big change from a lot of the other charities that happen, because a lot of the times when you make a big group, it's like, all right, we pick one recipient. So sometimes, especially when you're doing things online, people are from all over the place. So you might end up picking somewhere that's not in your country or it isn't around you, that
Right.
it doesn't really affect you. Whereas this, you work as a team to get an amount total, but the amount that you raise, you choose the location. So for myself, it is the local, or I guess it's the regional children's hospital for me in Canada, which doesn't really affect you. But when you sign up, you get to choose your own charity to do that for, and the money is just a goal milestone as far as value, not destination. So that's where it's a
Exactly.
big change that really makes it easier for people to jump in and get involved. Our team has already been created, the Phase Line group. So if you wanted to join on that, you can do that. The second event is a little later. I think it's the following week, and it is the Extra Life teamed up with the Bungee Foundation. Similar thing, but instead of being able to choose the charity that it goes to, it's going to the Bungie Foundation. And what they're doing with this mission specifically is buying consoles and iPads for children who are in long-term care or are like long-term cancer patients, so that they have things that they can do in the hospital and things that just try and uplift the mood. And they've done a whole lot of studies on, like, having a positive outlook or being in a happier environment actually can positively affect yourself. When you're stressed and upset, that can actually affect your body and affect how you handle things. So the thought is, if you can uplift the spirit, it can help the body and mind go through what some of the hardest shit anybody could ever go through, right? So
Yeah.
that's what that aim is for. So they're two really, really good causes that we're both a part of already. We'll be definitely doing more in the future, but those are the two
Yeah.
ones that we've officially launched into as of yet.
Now, I can actually speak a little bit to where the money's going. I work in the hospital industry, as an IT personnel that's kind of separate from the hospital that I'm working at. I'm actually raising money for one of the hospitals I work at, and they have a children's cancer ward that I unfortunately have to go into quite a bit to repair the televisions, make sure everything's running. But it's also kind of a really big deal to go over there because these kids are stuck here, and I've seen the effect that not having a television or a specific movie or something that doesn't work has on these kids. And I've been over backwards to help them out, bringing a TV in that's separate from our system so that they can watch YouTube, things like that. And it's a big help. So what Bungie is doing is huge, and it's going to have a big impact. And I'm pretty excited about this particular charity.
Yeah, glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely glad to be a part of it because it semi directly affects me a little bit because I'm hoping that these kids that I see daily can benefit from it, and they will. But let's talk about what we're really here to talk about, which is Fringe Theory.
The spook zone.
The spook zone. So Dagger and I, a while back, had an idea. He and I have conversations at length about everything from aliens, which if you can see my shirt, it's perfect. Ghosts, hauntings, government conspiracies, and more recently, Cooper and I talk at length about quite a few different scary videos, ghost sightings, hauntings, and we've delved a little bit into like aliens and abductions and things like that. And all of us have our own approach. I feel like it's a little similar for all of us. There are differences, but we have our own approach to the things that we see, the stories that we read, the information that we obtain, and how we process that information and how we kind of come to a decision about how we feel about that information. And Dagger, I want to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your process for when you obtain information and you're reading about something. How do you approach it? Do you approach it from I absolutely believe this, or do you come in from more of a skeptical?
Yeah, so I definitely come in as a skeptic first and foremost. I mean, I come from a family of pilots and engineers, so we look at everything, scientifically. We look really look to like poke holes and the story, so to speak. So for me, when I'm researching anything, whether it's some UFO sighting or some haunted house or whatever, or remote viewing or some CIA black ops operation that went on. I really try to look at like, is this just hearsay? And I almost like kind of put it in that bucket first, and then I look for the things that definitively prove it, or have an abundance of evidence that seem to suggest something in that realm happened. So I would call myself a skeptic, and I'm pretty hard to sway if there's not some evidence there.
Yeah,
I'll be the one that will just kind of shit all over it. However, once evidence is presented, I'm very open-minded to almost anything. I think I truly believe the universe is a hugely infinite space, so
yeah, for sure.
anything can happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my approach.
Cooper, how about you?
I wouldn't say that I come in necessarily as a skeptic, but almost more as coming into it as like a cynic almost. I'd kind of instead of being like, I need to be proven right or proven wrong, I kind of just come into everything going, this is bullshit from the get go, and have to have it prove itself to me
Right.
almost. A good example, and I'm just going to use something because as Todd sort of mentioned, we throw a lot of videos back and forth at each other to like decode and figure stuff out. And a good example of sort of my methodology is we were watching one where they're in this like haunted hotel room or whatever, and she's doing this sort of pan of the room, She goes to the closet, opens the closet, and is like, "Hey, this is one of the rooms." She pans forward. There's like a loud bang. She looks back, opens the closet, and everything is everywhere. Like it's all
Right.
torched.
Right.
On a initial value first, you're like, "That's insane." Like
Right.
that's crazy. But when he showed it to me, I noticed the wall line was off by maybe a pixel or two, and I was like, "There's a cut here.
Yeah.
There's a cut." They made it, so that's what it is. I look at everything as if it was fabricated and
Right.
let it prove
Yeah.
itself to me, but I look for the fabrication. So, but as same thing with you, Brian. It's very much like if it is believable or I understand it, I'm totally open to it being
Yeah.
some black ops, special ops cover up, or some
Yeah.
aliens doing some weird shit.
Sure.
I'm totally open to the idea of that stuff being true, but it really needs to be
The proof
convincing.
needs to be there.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Coop.
Yeah. The and the second note is there's a lot of stuff that's scary or spooky or that happens that isn't in a supernatural or strange sense. Like there's a lot of stuff where people go into like
Sure.
an abandoned house and it's like some creepy noise and everyone's all freaked out and they're like, "Oh, there's some demon here." It could very well just be a homeless person who's scared that you just as
Exactly.
scared as you are.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I think that's what it is. A lot of people find
It is.
normal everyday shit in a weird area and then get
Yeah.
spooked by it and then assume that it's something terrifying when it is. I mean, it is. A homeless guy in an abandoned house can stab and murder you for some
It's
meth.
bad.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
Well,
but
it's amazing how powerful the mind is too.
well,
It is.
exactly right. You look in the dark, you see something that even if there isn't anything there. So I kind of come at it like everything is not spooky and is bullshit, and almost have to let it prove to me. That's sort of my methodology. Not necessarily a skeptic, but more of like a cynic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you bring up something good, and Revo, add one more thing. You know, Reaver, you talked about your job, and Cooper, you talked about this, like you noticed this line in the edit that suggested
Mhm.
a cut. Part of my background is in, visual effects for TV and film. I've
Yeah.
worked on a lot of major motion pictures. So, and I work with a lot of people that work in those fields that work for the biggest and best companies in the world. So, when I look at evidence too, I analyze it from that critical eye. I bring it in and I know what to look for because I'm a visual effects artist. I know how to fake things. So when I
Right.
look at, so if I find a UFO video, I'll bring it into the software at work and I'll try to see if the grain on the UFO and the grain in the rest of the video is the same grain on a
Right.
pixel
Yep.
level, things like that. And also just knowing the limitations of technology and stuff, it helps me be a little bit more critical about these things. So
Sure.
so that aspect of my life is something I think, plays heavily into my, do I believe it or do I not believe it?
Right.
Well,
And
yeah,
it,
exactly. I don't do that, but in video creation and editing, that like I
Yeah,
can see editing cuts really
sure.
well. Even in smooth
Yeah.
editing cuts, that's something
yeah.
that like like Todd didn't notice
The
it, but to
wood
me it was
was
jarring.
Yeah.
minor, and he was like, "Dude, it's huge. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I
And
was
I
like, no,
watched it
there was a clear
really
cut.
close, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh shit, no,
Yeah.
there's a clear cut here.
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed that."
Yeah.
But it
But
happens.
if you don't know
And
what you're
see,
looking for,
I approach it slightly different than both of you guys. I've had my experiences, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But I come at it as a believer, but I don't come at it as every one of these is true. Um, I'm skeptical about them, but I fully believe in these things. So instead
Sure.
of looking for the proof, I'm actually looking for what disproves it.
Yeah.
What else could this be? Cooper sent me a video a while back that was some girls, some lights were flashing, something flew into a bathroom, and I was like, dude, that looks like somebody threw a bra or a shirt into the bathroom. Somebody's in there probably
Send me
flipping
that
lights.
video.
Yeah.
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 But instead of I come at it from I 100% believe in ghosts. But if you send me a ghost video, I'm looking for what disproves it. I'm looking for the
Sure.
BS. Now,
Right.
aliens, I come at it differently. I come at it as I do believe in aliens, but there's a lot of fake shit out there. So I come at those skeptically. if you give me a government conspiracy, I'm going to do a ton of research. I'm not
Yeah.
going to take anybody's word for it. I'm just going to
Yeah.
research and come to my own decision on those. Um, but I come at them a little differently. But yeah, I mean,
And
we're all.
I
Go ahead.
think all the subject matters are going to have a little bit of that from all of us. I think, on the side of not necessarily aliens, but definitely, unidentified flying objects,
Yeah,
I will definitely lean a lot more into the I believe it.
yeah,
Not that I believe every piece of content, but that I believe in the concept of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
I completely
because
agree.
I've seen enough evidence that is undeniable in my mind to prove that to me. Where take, haunted stuff, it takes a lot
yeah.
more for me to believe in it. But even if something's a fabrication, it doesn't mean it's not effective in its end goal. If its end goal is to be scary, then it can still have an effect on me, even if I don't necessarily believe it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Well, that's
So
a
all
really,
these things
really
kind of,
good point.
yeah,
That's a really good point. Like there was I remember, and this is just because I have that sort of cynical analytical mind, but I was watching some of these like creepy top 10 videos or something
Yep.
yeah,
All
with
the
one of my
time.
buddies, and he was like this is so scary, and I was like, yeah, but it's so fake. Like it's
Yeah.
just
right,
undeniably fake. And he's like, yeah, but
Yep.
it's still scary. I was like,
right,
I mean, yeah, but
sure,
it's such bullshit. Like it's so
yeah.
clearly fake. He's like, I don't care. It's spooky. It's
yeah,
awesome to me because to him it doesn't make a difference. Like he
Right.
believes in it, but to him it's like scary is scary. Whereas I'm kind of like there's scary real
it's
and scary scary.
yeah, and it's how
Exactly.
your mind compartmentalizes that. I mean, I can tell you right now, I one time worked on a horror film. One time I did I created the scares along with the rest of the effects team, and I went to the focus group screening where they test the film and the test audience. I still was kind of scared of the I
Note
You
you know
yourself.
knew it was coming.
so it takes all kinds, but I think one interesting thing we should probably talk about a little bit, and Reaver, if you don't mind me leading for a moment, is just
Please.
the aspect of why do this show when there are probably 30 billion
There are a
shows
lot.
on these topics, especially now because certain paranormal subjects have really risen into pop culture now in a big
Yeah.
way. Um, so for me, I think um, now there are shows out there that I consider kind of fair and neutral. But
Mhm.
most of the shows out there, and a lot of these shows I like and I actually watch and are interested in, generally are made by people passionate about the subject,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not saying they have an agenda, some of them do,
But
but
they
they
skew their
definitely,
thought.
Yeah,
they
I
do.
think a lot of
So
them lean heavily into it
Yeah.
to try and make that content.
exactly. And so, and we all might have our kind of, minor agendas on certain subjects. But the great thing is, I think when you have a show that has, three hosts like this one does, or hell, if it had more, you start to get so many opinions, and there's enough people to champion a subject and enough people to poke holes in it that
Yep.
it suddenly becomes more interesting. For example, there's a really popular UFO show out there. I won't name it that constantly deals with UFOs, and
Yeah.
you can tell these guys are really passionate. They're really interested in it, and so you get pulled in by that passion, and you're
Yep.
Yeah,
watching
the
it. You're
energy
diving
brings
in,
you in.
but at the same time, you're just like, I know nothing will convince these guys that this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Right,
Exactly.
It's
right,
just
right.
like,
To them, this
It's
is real, whether it is or not.
yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
and to take a critical eye at something and to squash it and just say, well, it wasn't a UFO, it was a lenticular cloud. That doesn't make for
Yeah,
good television,
yeah.
Right.
3-second episode.
Yeah, platforms like YouTube have allowed shows that to be a little bit more free form, and I think that we can maybe, in Fringe Theory, can add to that, stable of shows out there that can just give a differing opinion than something maybe that's so curated.
Yeah.
I think, and Reaver and Cooper, you might want to comment on this a little bit, but one of the main goals we talked about when we were formulating this show was that it's okay if a subject matter we bring up for a particular episode, it is totally okay if by the end of that episode we've convinced ourselves that it's utter bullshit
Yeah.
and
I mean,
completely
Absolutely.
fabricated.
and
Um, It
It's
doesn't
so
make it any less of an interesting topic.
no,
Maybe just the interesting part of that is discussing how and why this is
Right.
not true.
yeah, yeah, and we've already discussed a few topics that after research we've been like, you know what, maybe not, which is a
Yeah.
Right.
good thing for the subject, because it's an interesting subject to go over. Um,
Yeah.
and
I think we should hit on almost like a format here, if you mind if I sort of
no,
talk
go
on
ahead.
that.
No.
Hey,
So to sort of move on the mentality that you just explained of like we'll bring up a topic, talk about it, and then by the end of it we might think it's bullshit or might think that it's completely real and I never want to go there because I'm terrified, whatever it is.
sure,
Um, the way that we're going to formulate each episode is we are going to have one of the three of us pick a topic, do a whole bunch of research on it, go to the dirt in
Mhm.
figuring out every little piece of detail, and that person is going to champion or first share that episode. They're going to
Yeah.
explain all the information that they've got, all the details they've got, everything that they want to present,
yeah,
and then it will come to the group of okay, so you've given me all the information. Do I think this is bullshit or not based on what you've told me?
Right.
yeah,
And that is going to be kind of the format that we're going to follow. So generally, the beginning of episodes or the first bits of episodes is going to be one person basically giving you the story with
yeah,
some interjections, of course, but it's going to be very championed by one person, which will
yeah,
rotate, so it won't always be the same
Mhm.
person. Um, and then almost like a roundtable discussion on okay, now that you've spent whatever whatever minutes explaining to me everything you've got, now what do we think? And
yeah,
that is going to be where we're going to have those conversations of, let's just say for an example, let's say Todd's like, here's the topic, and in his head he's like, this is totally real. Here's all the information. Me and Brian look at each other and just go,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
bro. And
And
that
we
could possibly happen because one person's championing in it and
yeah.
doing their
yeah,
own research. We don't know this until it starts, which
yep,
will be interesting because you'll see that first reaction.
Yeah, and a lot of the subject, the stories we're going to tell, a lot of these subject matters we're going to talk about, um, I think there's going to be some, maybe where two of us know a lot about it, one of us don't, maybe all three of us know a lot about it, maybe none
mhm,
of us know that much, and one person has to research it. But I think regardless, our subject matters are going to be so varied and cross so many like kind of lines of thought that there's going to be a lot of variety in this show. We already have
yeah,
a lot of show ideas for hell going out to 10 episodes at least
yeah.
on a variety of subjects that
I mean,
are
we're
not,
we're
it's
talking the
it's
Men
going to
in
be
Black,
everything.
serial killers, ghost
Yeah.
Yeah,
hauntings.
that's what I was gonna say.
So
We should outline. We're fringe theory, but let's define what the hell that means.
Yeah.
basically
There's
fringe topics.
Sure,
fringe
Um,
but
topics, and
define that.
sometimes the fringe theory can be our own and not
yeah,
necessarily the
exactly.
subject matter. So in the case of you take we'll just take the serial killer H. Holmes. I know we are wanting to do an episode on.
Yes.
There's a lot of differing opinions on just how many people he killed and whether he was as prolific as he says he was or how it was found he was. There's a lot of differing opinions. And so some of the theories that we come up with, obviously we can't prove them, but so they'll by definition be fringe theories on a
Exactly.
factual topic, the factual topic of
Yeah,
H.H. Holmes, where in other shows we may be doing a topic on, the Phoenix Lights, which the entire theory of what it is fringe.
Yeah.
So that the show title has some fluidity to it, and I
Yep.
don't think it's always one thing. Um, so yeah,
yeah. I guess the thing that I want to hit on is as much as this goes everywhere from strange sightings of whatever to haunted locations, serial
yep,
killers. Like
Yeah.
it isn't just
no,
spooky hauntings
It's a
and some
very
alien
yeah,
stuff. It's
broad
gonna be a
spectrum.
very wide
yeah,
topic. So we're gonna get like a conspiracy theory one time, and then the next time will be about like an event that happened that's unexplained,
yeah.
Exactly.
and
It
then
could,
that will go in.
yeah, like you said, it could be Bigfoot one episode. It could be
Yeah.
CIA remote viewing experiments the next episode.
Exactly.
It could be, to something completely, crazy like the Philadelphia experience. We could really cover a lot of ground here,
Yeah.
and we hope that that variety is what kind of keeps this show interesting. It's not just a UFO show. It's not just a top 5 haunted place show. It's all those things. There may be strange episodes that, if a new game comes out that's touching on a kind of French theory out there, we may
Yeah.
highlight it.
Yep.
The topics may really get kind of varied here. If a new movie comes out that really speaks to a fringe idea, then
Yeah.
we may, look into that. Um,
Moon's
so yeah,
haunted. You know.
yeah, yeah,
Moon's haunted.
So
yeah,
we're looking to do episodes about once a month.
yeah.
We do have plenty of ideas for episodes, and we'll probably have a lot recorded, but we're going to look at putting them out once a month because we want to give our presenter plenty of time to do a ton of research.
Absolutely.
And then we want to record that episode, and we want to have time to edit these episodes because I know, Cooper, you do this all the time. Dagger, you do this all the time. Brian, you do it all the time. I'm pretty new to it and still learning. I've done it a couple of times, so I've picked up quite a few little tips and tricks, but it's something that we want to give time on to make it as good as possible. And then we'll put it out. But we want to do it about once a month.
Yeah.
Now, Cooper.
And I think in the interim there, we can get a hub for the community and a place for fans of the show to congregate.
Exactly.
And, even announce a show topic as we're recording it so people can put their own comments and stuff, and maybe some of that can be brought up on the show. I think,
and not only that, but we want people to that are interested in it to give us thoughts on, hey, I'd love to see a show on this. And we'll have.
Or I watched your last show and you guys are all idiots. We do want to hear that.
We welcome the feedback. And we have a Gmail account that'll be in the description below. And we have a Discord that'll be in the description below. And we'll open that up. But yeah, we welcome the feedback. We want it. We're gonna watch all of the comments on YouTube. Emails, the Discord, and we'll be happy to hear it. Now, before we cut this off, Cooper, you've had experience with paranormal in one way or another. Give us the TLDR version of your experience.
The experience, the one we've talked about?
Yes, the experience.
Okay, alright. So the TLDR version is lived in an apartment with two other guys, and I don't know what started it. Maybe we were watching spooky videos or a horror movie. I don't know what it was, but I went to work. And when I came back, they were like halfway through starting like some sort of Ouija board seance thing. Now, backstory for me, I don't let that, like, I don't even, like, if you're like, oh, I'm going to bring a Ouija board over. Yeah, you're not coming to my house. I don't let that shit in my house. No, that's not going to happen. But I came home to this, and it wasn't like they went and bought one. It was on, like, a piece of lined paper sideways. It was all messed up. It wasn't done properly. And, of course, I'm like, well, we're here, so whatever. So we do it, and it did do stuff, but nothing really alarming. Like nothing even worth noting. Like I wouldn't have even like I would have written it off as just nothing.
Yeah.
But literally instantly, weird stuff started happening. From one of the big things is that one of our buddies went into the bathroom because we did it in the bathroom. It had like a nice countertop, and the door wouldn't open. We ended up having to kick the door in to get somebody out of the bathroom.
Wow.
All of the like deodorant cans and all of the like shampoos would get swiped off the tables constantly. We don't have pets; it just happened. There was a time where we were sitting in the dining room, and it was like a corridor kitchen, and we'd just be sitting there, and all of a sudden all the pans would just fall off the table, and we're like, well, that's a thing. And this happened for a year to the point where we had friends who wouldn't come over anymore. They're like, your house is haunted. I'm not coming to your house anymore. They're like, the walls would crack. The walls would like make weird noises and stuff. They didn't want to do it. But it boiled over when we were sitting in the living room, and it had one big like bay window, like almost the entire wall. And I'm sitting on a couch and it's back, so the glass is behind me. And my roommate's looking at me, and I just see his eyes go like huge. And I'm like, what? And he's like, turn around, and we watched the glass crack straight through.
Wow.
To the point where it was so busted that the rental company had to come in and replace the entire window. And this didn't stop for about a year and a half until we
I'm
moved.
out.
Like
No,
it
I'm
never
moved.
it
I'm
never
gone.
stopped.
I'm not staying in the house. That's done. That's a wrap
So,
for
but it
me.
got to the point where like we'd be doing something and you hear like rattling in the wall, and then like a door would like start swinging, and we're like, it's just the demon. It's just the, like it just became like a part of
It's just
everyday life.
Zozo. I mean,
Well,
we're good.
well,
Right.
because one of the only answers that we got was like, "What's your name?" and it just went to a D. So we would just say, "Oh, it's D, whatever, that's what it is." So like we'd be sitting there with our friends, they'd be like, "What is that noise? What's happening?" Or like, "Oh, something just fell off
Just
the table." We're
D.
like,
Don't
"That's just
worry
D.
about
It's
it.
whatever. Don't worry about
Don't
it."
worry about
But that our nonchalantness freaked out friends to the point where like I have two friends that were like, "I'm literally not going to your apartment. It's not happening." Like it was that
it.
frequent and that noticeable.
Now,
Wow.
Brian, have you had an experience? I know you haven't had anything with ghosts. We've discussed
Nothing,
that.
nothing haunted, and thank God, because I would probably have a heart attack and be dead now.
That
So
would be
that's
a
a good
wrap.
thing. However, in the case of, unidentified flying craft, I've had one minor experience, and then my family history and my dad having a very acute
That's
experience
right.
has a lasting impression. So, a little bit of backstory: I'm from Central Florida, or in between kind of Central
So do
Florida
you
and
have
Cape
meth
Canaveral.
like pumping through your veins, or?
Yeah, yeah. So, um, so a lot of my family worked at NASA all the way going back to the Apollo program. Both my mom and dad are both licensed pilots. My dad owned an aircraft maintenance facility. He's worked at General Dynamics and Gulfstream. Actually, both my parents have. And
Yep.
advanced projects, my dad has overseen projects for the Navy, the Air Force, Air Force One, Sikorsky, you name it. Um, he's worked with companies that build satellites. He works with the company that built the rover that's, the Curiosity rover that's on Mars.
Yep.
I personally have flown planes since I was probably 9 years old, out of habit now. But the world of aviation and flying, what I'm getting to here, is not unfamiliar to me.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and my dad and his dad, who were out fishing one morning in Central Florida, saw a UFO do maneuvers that are completely impossible. And my dad, if you know him, he is an engineer. He is very straight laced. There's no gray zone. It's black and white.
Yeah.
He doesn't bullshit. That's just not in his nature. Being a when you're maintenance for air when you work in the maintenance field for aircraft, you don't sort of do it, or
Right.
sort of get
It's
things
right or it's
right.
fucking
It's
Right.
right
wrong.
or it's wrong,
Right.
and that's his nature. And he told me the story of this craft and what it was doing, and I was like, that's unreal. And then I had my own similar experience in Central Florida with a craft. Now it was only a light. I didn't actually see a craft,
Right.
but a light that it was doing 90-degree turns at what seemed like thousands of miles an hour. It would shoot across the sky as fast as a meteorite, and I'd see a lot of those in Central Florida,
Sure.
but it would shoot across the sky, do a 90-degree turn, and then go back the way it came. And
Jesus.
it was really freaky. So that, again, combined with my visual effects experience and knowing how to fake videos,
Yeah.
uh, I have seen a lot of evidence that pr- that definitely confirms aerial vehicles that can do stuff that is unreal. Now, you'll notice I said aerial vehicles. I'm not saying they're aliens. I'm not saying they're from outer space.
Sure.
All I'm
But some
saying is
weird shit.
there's something flying in the air that can do shit that we can't do.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, I've the other thing I should say is, I'm old. I'm 40 years old, and I have been researching these topics since I was a kid. When the internet first came out on dial-up, I was looking up these topics. So a
Yep.
lot of the topics I'm going to talk about on the show, I've been researching them for the better part of like probably 25 years.
Yeah.
No bullshit. There's some subject matters that I
Old
have been trying to poke
bastard.
holes in for 25 years. So um, all the stuff I'm going to talk about will definitely come from that point of view as someone
Yeah.
who has looked at it for years and has, you know, found enough there that it's undeniable to me. So, yeah.
And there are plenty of those subjects for me as well because I'm old too. Cooper's the youngest of us. You know, I'm 35 going on 45.
37. Yeah.
But for myself, I was an air traffic controller. I did quite a bit of controlling aircraft for the military. I've only ever had one odd communication with a pilot, and what we call a pickle. It's basically the piece that we hold in our hand, and we push the button to speak to the pilot. And we call it the same for the pilot, even though it's not. But the passenger of one of our pilots accidentally hit his pickle, and all we heard him say was, "What the fuck was that?" And then it went away. Now, FAA immediately got pissed. You
Excuse
can't
me,
cut.
what did you just say over the air?
They listen to our stuff. They're held in. But when our CO, who happened to be doing tower chief at the time, talked to the pilot was like, "No, nothing. It was nothing. Don't worry about it," and wouldn't talk about it. And it almost disappeared. Like the FAA came in, took the tapes, but that was it. There was no the pilot was flying 2 days later, which he shouldn't have been doing. So it could have been anything. I mean, it could have been the pilot basically accidentally hit the pickle, explained it to the FAA, and the FAA was like, "Whatever, cool." But
or he said some weird shit and they said, "Keep your mouth shut."
Or he saw something. Yeah, or he saw something, said to them, and they were like, "Shut your mouth." Now I can't confirm it. I don't know, but that's probably the only weird possible UFO thing I've ever heard of. And we were a test evaluation area, so who knows? But as far as ghosts go, yeah, I've had 2 experiences.
You're being haunted right now. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay. We'll call it 3. I'll say a little bit about that. But
we need the mad TLDR though. Give us the
for the TLDR. So TLDR for the first one. I used to live in a house. I would see things at about 3 in the morning that looked like figures walking around the room, 4 or 5 of them. I thought even then, when I was young, that it was just the moonlight coming through the trees, coming through my blinds, causing me to see this. Okay, even at a young age, I was saying that. 10 years later, my brother is telling my dad a story, and I come into the seat, into the car at the very end, and all he said was, "Yeah, there were 4 or 5 of them." And I was like, "Are you talking about the things that walked around our room?" He had a different view than I did. I was on the top bunk, he was on the bottom bunk. Instead of just seeing things walk around the room and stop at us, he would see things bend over and look at him.
Hell no.
So we didn't live in the house anymore.
You burnt that house down, right?
No, we did talk to the family, and the family did say that their child saw it. Now, it was never anything bad. It was almost like these things were checking on us to make sure we were okay.
Burn it with fire.
The second experience that I had, that's a confirmed experience, Cooper, my best friend at the time, I was in middle school, had been gone for 2 weeks. And he lived with his mother, grandmother, and grandfather, who had Alzheimer's. The grandfather did. He was always in like 3 rooms. He was either in his living room, he was downstairs in his rocking chair, or he was upstairs in his room. And his father lived in Virginia. So when he got back from this 2-week-long disappearance, I rode my bike to his house. He wasn't downstairs where he normally is on his trampoline, so I went to the front door. Knocked on the door. His mom answered. He's downstairs. Go downstairs, wave at his grandfather, and go outside. And I said, "Dude, where have you been?" He said, "Well, I had to go to Florida. My grandfather died." And I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Tell your dad that I'm sorry for his loss." And he said, No, not my dad's dad. My grandfather." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I literally just passed your grandfather and waved at him," and he waved back. And he was like, "No, you didn't. We buried him in Virginia." when we went back into the house.
Ah,
And this conversation was about as fast as I just did it, maybe slightly slower, but it wasn't long enough for him to get upstairs. When we got back inside, we ran in there. He was gone. So those are my two confirmed experiences. Now, Cooper mentions another experience. My kids have been saying some really weird shit. And I may or may not have seen legs walk by my door the other night while I was watching my phone. And my son was sleeping next to me, and my daughter was still asleep in bed. And I may or may not have heard a toy that is literally button activated go off in the middle of the night. And my son may or may not have heard me calling him, even though when he came to me, I was like, "What are you doing? Did you find your socks?" And he was confused. My apartment could possibly be haunted.
I just like saying it. It's probably, we've actually had the conversation, and it's probably
nothing.
a lot of bullshit. But I know that every time I say it, it freaks him out because there's even like a 1% chance. So I like to bring it up because he gets all
We're moving
heebie-jeebies.
soon. I don't think our new house is haunted, so I think we're good.
You.
But the point is, we do all have a little bit of experience with the subjects that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Except for serial killers. I've never murdered anyone, and I've never met a serial killer that I know of. But I know I have researched a ton about the serial killers, and I'm pretty sure
I've had to for school.
Well.
So I've done extensive papers and research on many serial killers. So
that is a subject that we're very well known. We will know very well, and we will have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah. As we do more and more episodes too, you're going to learn more and more about what each one of us kind of focuses on, probably a little bit, and get a sense of where we're coming from. So.
Yep. And there will be those moments where, I'm going to do a lot of haunted stuff probably, but I'm also going to do a lot of serial killer stuff. And there are a couple of like the Philadelphia experiment is definitely something I want to get into. And I think Dagger and I have differing views, maybe,
probably
on that.
But you guys will have to see later about what those are.
So we will. We're definitely excited to get this show going. Brian is going away for a week. He's got to do some kind of vacation thing. I don't understand the word or how he even can go on vacation. Who has the time?
Disgraceful.
But he's going on vacation. Cooper and I have a lot going on anyway with Phaseline. There will be links, by the way, for this show. We may do it every once in a while. It's going to be a rarity, but there will be links to the charity information for Phaseline as well in the description. But I think that's it for now, guys.
Yeah.
This is who we are. This is what the show's premise is going to be. This is what we're doing, and we are all super excited to get going on this.
Yeah.
We already have the first episode is ready. I think the second episode's pretty much ready. We just have to record them.
The third one's pretty ready
too. So 3 episodes already ready to go. And I'm going to be doing research on my on the fourth episode.
Stay tuned for those topics too, because we'll get the topics out a little bit before the show's release, or probably when we record them, we'll get the show topics out so that community members can kind of add their own comments, and maybe that can be stuff we bring up. So expect to hear more about those show topics.
Yeah. But guys, actually, while we're here, we will be calling these specific things. Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we settled on Fringe Files, and we're going to number those.
Yep.
So these
we need to be extra cheesy with it.
We thought it was cheesy, but we kind of like it. I kind of dig calling them the Fringe Files.
That makes it really easy for me to organize them on our YouTube channel.
Fringe Files 001. So
thanks, guys.
Yep.
You are welcome. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in for this introductory episode. And we cannot wait to get our first episodes out. We can't wait to get you guys' feedback, and stay tuned, guys.
Yeah. See ya.